We're good? Nice. So, I'm not sure about replaying any memories, but I have to say this. There's only two emotions that one can associate with sports. That of winning and that of losing. It would drive us to play, practice, and perform. We only love the feeling of winning because we hate the feeling of losing. And we only hate the feeling of losing because we love the feeling of winning. That's a pretty universal reality. I mean, who doesn't like to win? But this idea can also be applied somewhere else. It's not just the game or the match where this is the case. Any individual component of a sport or any athletic endeavor can be boiled down, distilled down to that same emotional dichotomy, that of winning and that of losing. For example, you take a shot, you play a pass, you shift on defense. They all have the same binary backbone. You do it right, you won. You get a rush, you get hit with the best drug in the world. On the other hand, you do it wrong, you mess up, I mean, you lose, you lost. It doesn't feel good, never has, never will. I mean, who likes the feeling of losing? There is one odd scenario that we have to take into consideration. Personally, I can say that I've come out of games that I've won feeling terrible, and came out of games that I've lost feeling amazing, great, like I just did something amazing. Why? I mean, it's a bit of a weird situation, a simple answer. I, in that situation again, looked out for myself. I know that how I performed, however I did, was only a summation of my efforts. How I prepared, how I practiced, how I recovered. Did I sleep? Did I practice my shots? Did I practice X, Y, Z? A million things. It's up to me. How I performed was up to me, for good or bad. And yet if we look at athletics like this, from a holistic, realistic point of view, I mean, you start playing basketball 3 days ago, you're not going to shoot like Curry, and no one's going to bend it like Beckham. But if we look at it like this, there's very little to be discouraged by. We have accountability. We know our limits. We know that if we recognize those limits, the only thing stopping us from achieving them is ourselves. Our production is a function of our efforts. The question comes when it comes to not having that encouragement, not having that motivation. And it's a very important distinction. You are going to be frustrated. You are going to get discouraged. It's a reality with all sports. You're going to be discouraged. You'll be discouraged with your coach. You'll be discouraged with your teammates, your luck, the weather, the sport itself. It doesn't matter. You will be discouraged. In every sport. At some point, you will be discouraged. The distinction, however, is that you won't be discouraged with yourself. And that's a very important distinction. As when it happens to yourself, it means that you've lost something. You've lost the trust in yourself. You've lost the idea that you are what leads to your progress. You've lost that trust. It's a very important trust. And you only lose that trust when there's something else. There's an external factor leading you to not achieve your goals, leading you to not play as well as you think you can. That outside factor leaves you hamstrung, both literally and figuratively. Here, think about it like a metaphor. Athletics is a field. Big old plain covered in grass, one side black, one side painted gold. I think you can infer the symbolism. In the middle of this field lies a wall, a barrier, so to speak, if you can give me that considering the topic of our TED Talk here. The question is, how can we, as athletes, as practitioners of our sport, legally emigrate ourselves from the land of the losing to the world of winning? I say legally because I'm not advocating for you to go shoot a gram of tren per week or take steroids like your life depends on it. For keeping this normal. How can we go from losing to winning? Because we are all born. We all start in that losing side. None of us are born with technique. None of us normally are born with athletic intuition. How do we move across? How do we get over that barrier? How do we get over the wall? It's a simple answer. I already told you. Play, practice, so on and so forth. Recover. It's your own efforts. You're the only one stopping. You want to get across the wall? You can, within your own bounds. It's your wall. Your wall and someone else's won't be the same. But as long as you work your hardest, as long as you put in the effort, you'll get across. The issue arises when, for all our running, for all our jumping, and for all our tears, there will be tears, we can't get across. we can't get over. We can't scale the wall. And that is called an injury. An injury is what stops us. An injury is what, apart from our minds, puts a hamper on our efforts. And it's what we're here to talk about today. So, the question I'd like to pose is, how do we, as athletes, get over our injuries? How do we come back from our injuries? Because it's not just a physical question. I mean, physically you wait, you do recovery, and so on. It's not a particularly difficult scenario, but how do we, as people, come back? How do we, as people, come back from feeling like there's something apart from ourselves stopping us from achieving our goals? Good question. I'll take my stab at it. Now, I should probably give you some personal information. I should give you some personal information. I'm in grade 12, and I played 2 sports, soccer and basketball, the latter more than the former. I played for the school teams. I played for the senior basketball teams in grade 10 and 11. I'm not playing this year in 12. And for the soccer teams in grade 10, 11, and this year in 12 again. And if I had to sum up my athletic experience in a single word, it wouldn't be like many would say fun or easy. It would be painful. Here's why. I need a bit of help on this section, quite literally. I brought a sheet. It's a little long. Going over wide. Oh, my bad. So, this guy can help me. Let's start at age 11. At the age of 11, I was diagnosed with chronic pain in my hip flexors. By 12, the scar tissue and general damage had worsened to the point that my mobility was permanently affected. Imagine playing a running sport, soccer or basketball, except running hurts, except kicking a ball hurts, except jumping hurts. Not a little bit, a lot. Now, add on to that, half dozen severe ankle sprains, half dozen severe wrist sprains, broken finger, a concussion or two, not 2 concussions, and now we get to high school, grade 9. It's COVID. There's no school sports during COVID. Right? So I thought, finally in a year, where physically, I'm unharmed. I do better. What I didn't anticipate was quite literally falling off a cliff while skiing and snapping my wrist in half. You know that big bone on the inside of your arm, your radius? Snap the top of it in 2. And along with that, there's a whole litter of smaller fractures in my wrist. Now, this wasn't a small little break, it was quite a big one, so instead of just putting on a cast, I had to have surgery. So 4 titanium, pardon my language, 2 titanium rods, each 4 inches long later, I couldn't play anything. 9 months of recovery, 9 months of nothing. Now, we get to September, grade 10. I played not a single sport since the end of December. I believe it was December 21st that I broke my wrist. Haven't played a single sport. We get to September. I think, okay, play soccer and basketball. We're good. Well, I play basketball. We get to the last practice of the season. Literally the last practice. The next day's a game, we're done. Normally you take it easy, take it slow. What's the worst that could happen? I didn't. I broke my ankle. So, another cast, another 4 months of recovery. And oh yeah, I forgot to mention a single thing, my bad. Before that, during my grade 10 basketball season, I developed knee issues. Knee issues so bad that at times I couldn't walk, I couldn't get up, I couldn't jump. Again, I'm playing a jumper sport and I can't jump. I was averaging like 9 ice baths a week. Which if you're taking an ice bath, it's not exactly a fun time. So 4 months of recovery later, my ankle works. Unfortunately, what I didn't account for was my knee issues worsening due to that injury. I didn't use my feet for 4 months, so my knee issues got worse. And beyond the fact that to look a doctor in the eyes twice in one childhood and hear the words chronic pain, I also discovered that one of the muscles in my quad, both of them unfortunately, more the left, the vastus medialis, wasn't working, wasn't firing. Added on to the knee pain on the left side. So, the solution to that, hit legs every day for like 4 months. Did not enjoy that, as anyone who goes to the gym can imagine. And another, I keep saying one more thing. It doesn't stop. I also discovered that in my right knee, I had patellar tendonitis, jumper's knee, and it was rather severe. So once again, I'm a jumper who can't jump, playing a jumper sport with jumper's knee. Wonderful. 9 more months of recovery. 5 up to the 4 originally. We get to September. I haven't played a sport in 9 months. And I think, okay, all right, this is my chance. I can play. I can play soccer, I can play basketball. What actually happens is I have another fall and severely sprain both my dominant wrist, which is also the one I've broken. Again, I'm right-handed, play basketball, and I broke my right wrist. I severely sprained both my right wrist and my right ankle and my right knee. I got problems with all 3. Another thing to mention, it turns out that when I broke my wrist in grade 9, falling off a cliff while skiing, I actually tore my TFCC, the triangular fiber cartilage complex. Now, there's two large bones in your forearm. On the inside is the radius, on the other side is the ulna. See a bit of a mark on mine. These overlap. They go over each other when you turn around your wrist. They're held together by your TFCC. What had happened when I severely sprained my wrist was I had taken a small TFCC tear and completely tore it. I had no TFCC. So, I want to play a bit of an experiment with you guys. Take your non-dominant hand, put it on your dominant wrist, and wiggle. See how the only thing that really moves is a little bit of flesh and mostly skin? Mine wasn't like that. For me, it was the bones. You can move the bones back, forth, up, down, diagonally, however you want it. It was like jello in your arm. And I wondered why I wasn't good at 3-pointers. Well, I didn't have this. So, we get to summer, and I realized I need surgery. Bear in mind, I played through the season. I played through a majority of the season. I stopped playing in January. I played years of basketball on a wrist, on a dominant wrist, that my doctor, my surgeon, referred to as having atrocious, absolutely terrible stability. He said that to my face. He's a nice guy. I swear. So we get to summer, and I realized I need surgery. So in July, I underwent a TFCC repair and ulnar shortening osteotomy, which basically means it's doctor talk for they cut half my forearm open, they take a saw, they take the blade, cut part of my ulna off, attach it with 3 pieces of titanium, close it up, cut the top part down, go in with the machine, sew together a bunch of ligaments and cartilage and so on and so forth, attach it to my wrist, and give me 10 more weeks of time off. Great. My dominant wrist, can't use it for 10 more weeks. But none of that matters. We get to today. Not a single thing I just said matters. None of it matters. No. Why? Because I'm still here. I'm still trying to play. I still love sports, that's all I can think about. None of that matters. Not a single thing I said matters. Hell, I had my first soccer practice on Tuesday. Was it pretty? No. But I was playing soccer. None of that matters. It doesn't matter. Because any discouragement I feel in myself and whatever is amplified 5-fold into my urge to play by the fact that I've been separated from my sport for so long. So that begs the question, why the hell does this idiot want to play sports? After all that damage, 2 surgeries, the drugs, so on and so forth, why does this idiot want to play sports? Why do people who tear their ACLs, tear their MCLs, get put in wheelchairs, break their backs, never get out of the wheelchair, still want to play sports? What is it about sports that entraps us, takes us, holds us close, makes it a part of us, and never lets go? What is it? Again, good question. Take my shot at it. I mentioned before that when you win, you get a feeling of such euphoria, it can only be likened to the best drug in the world. And believe me, you should take my word on that. After all those surgeries, I've had the distinct pleasure of trying anything from fentanyl, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, to ketamine, horse tranquilizer, to hydromorphone, which is a couple times stronger than heroin. And as great as all of those were, believe me, sleeping on the last one was a ride. Nothing gets close, nothing gets remotely close to the sheer adrenaline rush, the sheer endorphin rush of winning in a sport. Nothing. I don't care. Nothing. And that isn't something to underestimate. Sports make us happy. The mental stimulation other people gain from things like music, math, art, we get from sports. As athletes, we get that from sports. Our mental health is contingent on sports. And again, that's not something to underestimate. It gives us happiness. And it gives us a type of happiness we can't find anywhere else. And happiness so intense that it's all we can think about. That sounds like a drug. On the other hand, there are less positive things. The humbling, getting hurt, learning that you're not so special. Sports give us character. They teach us lessons about ourselves, about life, about others that we wouldn't learn anywhere else or learn as efficiently. We learn how to work with others. We learn how to be a proper teammate. We learn how to collaborate. We learn that, well, sometimes you're not the most talented person in the room, and you got to get around that. I certainly learned that. And I play soccer, and I have very little talent on the ball. I can't dribble for the life of me. So I had to learn how to deal with that. I had to learn how to play soccer without dribbling particularly well. On the other hand, we also learned that if you are talented, sometimes it's not enough. With basketball, I'm a rather good shooter before my wrist went kaboom. And I learned that it doesn't matter how well you can shoot the ball if there's a dude who's 6'8" running at your face. You got to learn how to get around. You got to learn to adjust. You got to learn that nothing's static. Sports teach us lessons. They build our character. They make us who we are. We are nothing but an amalgamation of our experiences. As athletes, our experiences come from sports. And lastly, I'd argue this is the most important thing I've mentioned. Sports give a structure to our lives. Think about it like this. Anything that matters to a human. Health, for instance. Health is amplified by sports. It's not a particularly difficult proposition to accept. You run more, you lift more, you're healthier. The more sports you play, excluding specific freak accidents, will help us be healthier too. Not exactly crazy. More important than that, our social lives. Humans are social creatures. We seek relationships. And those relationships there's no better relationship you can find than one in sports. We seek brotherhood, we seek sisterhood. Well, that becomes our teammates. Those become the people we play with every day. Those become our hitting partners. We seek mentorship. That becomes our coaches, the parents of our teammates, our own parents. That's a very interesting point. The relationship you build with your own parents through athletics is a very specific thing that you can't really replicate. Nothing brings two people closer than waking up on a dreary 6 a.m. morning in the middle of December. You get up and go play soccer in the rain until 8 and then come back and try to go to sleep again. No one wants to do it, but you do it. And nothing brings you closer than that. I can tell you with my own parents. After all those experiences, we had to deal with it together, and it brought us closer, and I think our relationships never been better. So, the question I posed before, how do we come back from injury? Kind of turned into why we come back from injury. And I'd like to pose a new one now. Not a question, but just a reality. Here's an answer to both. Because we have to. There's no option to not come back from injury. We can't not come back. What happens if we don't come back? We lose everything. We lose our happiness. We lose our health. We lose our friends. We lose our family. The new community, that family we built through sports. We lose all of it. Okay, that's fine. We lose ourselves. So, we just don't let that happen. It's not a reality for us. It's not something we can even consider. We don't consider not coming back from injury because we have to. We have to come back for our health. We have to come back for our happiness. We have to come back for our community, for our friends, for our family. And most importantly, we have to come back for ourselves. We have to come back for ourselves. Thank you.